I didn't move to Waller County for ghosts. I moved because I needed peace. After 10 years in Tampa, watching the worst parts of humanity unravel on suburban streets and office parks, I thought maybe a slower pace would finally quiet the buzzing in my head. Murder suicides, hostage calls gone wrong, the baby whose father swore it was an accident but couldn't explain the bruises. I wouldn't say I broke, but something in me went soft, unmoored, soared, untethered. Waller County offered cattle crossings, calls about potholes, and drunken high schoolers shining spotlights in orange groves. Or at least, that's what the recruiter pitch had promised. What they didn't mention were the rules. Not station rules, not protocols you'd find at the academy. I mean the Waller County guidelines. A laminated sheet clipped to the inside door of every patrol vehicle, pressed against the mirror like a post-it from hell. I hadn't noticed it my first week. It took me until my second Sunday shift, when I adjusted the visor and found it staring back, titled in bold black marker, Non-negotiable behaviors when patrolling during certain hours. Below that, in smaller print, typed this time, was the subtitle that still makes every hair on my arm stand on end. The following rules must be observed while on duty between dusk and dawn. No exceptions, no disregard, no discussion after violation. I scanned the sheet once, laughed to myself, and took a picture to send my sister. Thought maybe it was local hazing, a spooky prank for the newcomers. Except when I showed it to Deputy Cruz during lunch that day, his face had gone pale in a way I didn't expect from a 15-year vet. "You think it's funny now," he muttered, putting his fork down. "Laugh it off. Just don't forget Rule 4. That's all I'll say." I hadn't even memorized Rule 4 at that point. It wasn't until the third week in, when my shift supervisor asked if I'd reviewed the night protocol, that I finally opened the glove box, pulled out the laminated copy, and started reading. There were 7 rules. Each rule was short, deceptively simple, like something written for children. Rule 1. If you see headlights behind you between 2:11 a.m. and 2:36 a.m., do not pull over, even if it's flashing blue and red. No Waller County unit is allowed to patrol during this interval. No one. Rule 2. Do not approach fog on Monroe Stretch. There is no morning fog in Waller. It doesn't roll. It waits. Rule 3. If a pedestrian waves you down after 3 a.m. near River Hollow Bridge, look at their feet. If they're barefoot and facing east, keep driving. You will not be judged. Rule 4. Should you receive a call from Unit 9, ignore it. There is no Unit 9. Hasn't been for years. Rule 5. The 6th house on Old Pitch Pine Road is to be passed without acknowledgement. No call-outs, no foot traffic. Do not shine your spotlight toward its front window. We cannot help them, and they prefer it that way. Rule 6. If you hear the hymn, "Nearer my God to thee," coming from a hollow radio frequency, abandon the vehicle and return before checking the source. If you check the source first, you may not return. Rule 7. Between August 14th and 23rd, refrain from entering any grapefruit groves on foot. Forgotten things walk in the Rhines. Even the dogs know this. No context, no author. Just those rules, dry and bureaucratic, as if passed down from officer to officer. Like a painful inheritance, no one had the spine to challenge. I kept asking why. Cruz wouldn't say. Officer Holloway just shook her head and told me to take it seriously or risk being reassigned across the marshline. A place she refused to explain. But the truth is, nothing prepares you until you break one. Which brings me to last Thursday night. It was 2:27 a.m. I was parked along County Line 68, tail end of a 12-hour shift. We hadn't had a dispatch call in 4 hours. Static from the receiver had faded into white background noise, a domestic hum in an otherwise still world. And that's when I saw the lights, red, blue, white strobe, a unit behind me, barely 50 yards back, didn't identify itself on radio. Unit 12, I called, my own designation. This is 2-3 on line 68. Got a visual on what looks like a county cruiser tailing me. Please confirm identity. Nothing. Again, this time louder. This is Unit 2-3. Cruiser at my 6. Identify immediately. Still radio silence. Except now, my dashcam flickered. First once, then again, then steady. Something buzzed underneath the silence. Static turned real, garbled audio. Then, "We saw you, Darren." I hadn't said my name over the line. I glanced at my visor. Rules still clipped like a gentle reminder. Rule 1, 2:11 a.m. to 2:36 a.m. I was smack in the middle. The lights behind me stayed locked. No motion. No exit. Not even a parking brake whine. But what chilled my spine was what I felt, the way the dark pressed closer, as if headlights now weren't broadcasting light, but holding something back. I pulled forward, heart knocking, testing the tail. The cruiser moved with me. 10 feet, 20, 50. The shoulders of the road went soft, gravel turning to ancient loam. I remembered what Cruz said. Rule 4. What the hell did that have to do with this? And then, from behind me, over the radio, came the tone I'd heard at the station once before. A hollowed-out channel reserved for Unit 9. 2-3, this is Unit 9. We see you, Darren. Pull over, son. Lights aren't working back here. We need your help real quick. I almost did. By God, I almost keyed the brake. I don't know what stopped me. instinct, impulse, or sheer animal terror. But my knuckles were white on the wheel, foot firm on the accelerator. I didn't look in the mirror until I'd passed Kessler Hollow Bridge. The lights were gone. So was the cruiser. So was the air static. And after a minute of dry-mouthed panting, the radio crackled back alive. Unit 2-3, status check. Cruise. I didn't answer immediately, just stared at the laminated list hanging overhead. Rule 1, Rule 4. When I finally got back to the station, Cruise was waiting. He didn't ask what happened, just looked at me and handed me coffee. You didn't pull over. That's good. That's smart. You didn't answer the radio. I know. If I had, you'd be gone like Marcus. He said it so simply. I'd never heard that name. Who's Marcus? Cruz didn't blink. Don't ask about Unit 9. Just be thankful it hasn't learned your face. I tossed my keys on the bench beside the coffee machine and leaned against the wall until the shake in my legs subsided. That was a week ago. And that should have been it. Until last night. When we got a call from the dispatcher, no one knew. A voice that claimed she was just filling in, though the system showed our regular tech, Glory Pinner, on the boards. The call was brief. A vehicle stuck on Monroe Stretch, right where the fog sometimes waits. And against every rule I knew now meant life or death, I answered. We don't get much traffic on Monroe Stretch after midnight. It's a long, winding piece of asphalt that dances between cypress thickets and swampland. A road that smells like wet rot even on the driest days. People don't live there. They pass through, and the ones who don't pass tend not to come back. Rule 2 had made that much clear. Fog on Monroe wasn't fog. I didn't question the phrasing anymore. I'd seen too much. Felt too much. But you learn, as a cop, how to compartmentalize. You stack questions in your mind like evidence boxes, tape them shut and shove them somewhere dark. When the call came, 2:43 a.m., I was parked at the edge of the North Citrus Loop, watching a coyote sniff an empty Jack-in-the-Box bag. Static rolled across my radio for a half-second. Then a female voice broke in. Unit 2-3, we've got a reported stall out on Monroe Stretch. Marker 114. Female, possibly disoriented, stuck inside her vehicle. Please respond. I keyed the mic. Who's on dispatch? I thought Pena had the boat tonight. A pause long enough to feel unnatural. Then, sorry, Glory had to step out. I'm temp relief on 911 tonight. Name's Carla. No last name. No transfer notice. No status update. I didn't like it. Still, I flipped my lights on the scene and turned toward Monroe. Almost immediately, the hairs on my forearms began to tingle. The road to Monroe feels unnatural at night. Light doesn't land correctly out there. My high beams look like someone had cut their throw in half. The branches overhead formed a web above the asphalt, leaning in just a little too close, bending when there wasn't wind. I kept one hand near the volume knob on the radio, the other gripping the wheel harder than necessary. It was an old habit from tactical calls. Stay in control, maintain options. But all the control in the world doesn't mean much when the road beneath you starts to breathe. I saw the vehicle before I saw the fog. A silver Toyota Corolla nose toward the shoulder. Hazard lights off. No smoke, no movement. But what made me hit the brakes hard were the footprints. They led away. Not toward a house, not down the road. No, they walked directly into the tree line, disappearing into the darkness where the fog began to gather. The door to the Corolla was closed, but not locked. The window rolled halfway down. A phone rested on the passenger seat beside a purse zipped half open. Someone had been here very recently. I circled to the front, scanned the vehicle for damage. Nothing. The hood was still warm, still ticking. All around me, the fog oozed silently across the road. Not ahead or behind, but from the sides, as if the trees themselves bled it out like something ancient exhaling between bark and root. I clipped my flashlight to my vest, radioed in. Unit 2, 3 to dispatch. Got eyes on the stranding vehicle, but it's empty. Door unlocked. Belongings inside. Possible missing person. I need backup. Static. I said it again. Dispatch. Confirm my transmission. I'm at marker 114 on Monroe. Visibility dropping. Person may have walked toward the woods. Silence. Then, she saw the fog, and it saw her. I froze. It wasn't Carla who spoke. It wasn't Glory either. The voice came through like rust over gravel, deep and amused and utterly wrong in its rhythm. Like it hadn't spoken English in so long, it forgot where the syllables belonged. Something moved behind me. I turned too fast, nearly dropped the flashlight. Branches along the shoulder dipped unnaturally low, swaying with no wind. I stepped back toward my cruiser, but felt moisture underfoot. The fog had curled around my feet, coating the road like a second skin. And then the singing started. Soft at first, like someone humming inside an old farmhouse kitchen. A woman's voice, reedy and flat. Come near, my God, to thee. My memory shot to Rule 6. If you hear the hymn, nearer my God to thee, coming from a hollow radio frequency, abandon your vehicle and return before checking the source. If you check the source first, you may not return. But I already had. I'd already approached the origin, the car, the footprints. I'd made direct engagement. I swore, grabbed the door handle on my cruiser. It didn't move. Locked. Car was running, keys still in the ignition. Door wouldn't open. I pounded once, twice, screamed. That's when I saw her. A woman in scrubs, standing maybe 15 yards ahead, her back to me, hair tied up, one arm hanging limply at her side, the other raised in a wave. At least, I think it was a wave. Until she turned, and I saw her eyes weren't eyes, just channels of soft silver light. Her mouth moved, but there were no words I could hear. Only that same awful melody, drifting directly from her lips, without breath, without harmony. I backed away fast. Heel hit the edge of the asphalt. The fog coiled over both shoulders now, and something wet and large breathed just out of reach. Low, cavernous exhales, like lungs made of swamp and root systems. She blinked. The light dimmed from her face a moment, enough to whisper something. You made it through the first rule. They know who you are now. I didn't wait, didn't try the car again. I just ran. Off the road, through the brush, crashing past branches. I didn't even care where I went. Distance, that's all that mattered. Trees slapped my arms. A thorn gashed my temple, somewhere between the brush line and the drainage ditch. I heard the radio in my vehicle come alive again. But this time, there were no voices. Only the hymn, played high and slow, distorted like it came from underwater, sung by dozens of people, each one too close. I didn't stop moving until I saw the 7-Eleven north of County 12, glowing like a false lighthouse in the dead dark. When I sat down beside the dumpster, lungs heaving, shirt plastered to my shoulders, I realized I'd dropped the printout. My rule sheet. Gone. Somewhere on Monroe. Somewhere in the fog. Cruz met me an hour later. Drove silent, jaw locked, eyes scanning every tree. When we pulled into the station, he finally asked one question. Did you call anyone by name while you were out there? I shook my head. No. Why? He looked genuinely relieved. Good. Because if you do, it can answer next time. I spent the next hours reviewing traffic cams from Monroe. The silver Corolla never appeared on inbound footage, only outbound. Parked, empty. At 2:38 a.m., the fog moved in. By 2:41, nothing remained. The car never left. No tow record, no report, no plate registration matching any system we access. Disappeared. Like it had always been meant for bait. Like it had been sent just for me. And the voice from the radio? Not Glory, not Carla, not a dispatcher at all. Something else. I stayed in the station lounge that night, sleeping with the lights on. Cruz brought me coffee just before sunrise. Said something like, "You survived the first probe. Doesn't mean you're safe. Just means they'll be more creative now." I didn't ask what he meant. Some answers are warnings, others are promises, and deep down I wasn't sure which was worse. I started taping the rule sheet to my mirror at home. Even off duty, it didn't feel safe anymore. I'd find myself staring at it while brushing my teeth, not reading, just memorizing through osmosis. 7 lines, 7 fragile survival tips trying to hold back something vast and patient that never sleeps. Crews told me not to bother, said the rules aren't protective charms. They're seat belts, not armor. They only work if you follow them perfectly, he'd muttered. And even then, sometimes they just prolong the crash. I asked him once if anyone in the department ever tried to update the protocols, add new ones, reword the confusing ones. His face went cold. They tried once, back in '98. A new sheriff wanted to make the language clearer, organize it by threat level and behavior type, clean up the formatting. And the week it went live, he walked barefoot into River Hollow just after sundown, humming a hymn no one would admit to recognizing. Left a full cruiser running, weapons still in the holster. He was found the next morning floating in the pond with a smile on his face and sigils burned into both hands. So the rules stayed the same. No edits, no formatting changes, no embellishments. Just 7 rules, delivered decades ago by someone long dead, and carried like a disease between deputies who couldn't afford doubt. Still, the calls didn't stop. If anything, they grew more pointed. I'd wake up to voicemails that weren't voicemails, empty audio files lasting 7 seconds, then 8. One time, exactly 13. No sound but shifting fabric, or the click of a turning page. Once I swear I heard someone breathing into water. That sound scuba divers make, filtered through an old cassette recorder and electricity hum. Crew shrugged when I brought it up. Has it asked your name yet? No. Then it's still watching, still testing. The question I still haven't asked is this: what happens when it finally stops testing? Last night, I think I found out. I was off duty, first night off in 6 days. I left my cruiser in the lot. Didn't bring a radio. Just wanted to sit on my porch, drink lukewarm tea, and try not to think about headlights, or hymns, or women with candlelit eyes. At 9:18 p.m., a knock came at the door. Soft, precise. 3 taps, evenly spaced. It didn't sound like someone needing help. It sounded like someone checking if I was paying attention. I almost didn't open it. I wish I hadn't. There was a girl at the base of the porch steps. Couldn't have been older than 9. Tangled black curls framed a silent pale face. She wore a yellow sundress with white flowers on it. Pure, unblemished, like it had never known dirt. I opened the screen slowly, one hand behind the doorframe, resting on my hip where my holster normally sat. But I wasn't armed tonight. I hadn't felt it necessary off duty. Are you lost, sweetheart? Her eyes narrowed, not in confusion, in recognition. You looked at the sixth house on Pitch Pine Road. I froze. You weren't supposed to. The window was closed, so it forgave you. But next time, it won't be closed. My throat went dry. You need help getting home? She tilted her head. Do you remember what the first rule says? I don't think this is the time for... She stepped forward, one bare foot hitting the step with the soft hush of fabric sliding into place. Each step silent, measured. And then, 4 steps up, she stopped. If you write your own name on the last page of the protocol sheet, she smiled. You leave the door open. What door? Behind her, the world unraveled like film running backward through an old projector. Streetlights winked out. Trees bent away from the breeze instead of into it. My neighbor's porch light blinked Morse just long enough to spell run, then died. I slammed the door hard and slid the deadbolt, heart pounding like it wanted out. The girl didn't follow. Just stood there, waiting, smiling. I pulled the curtain aside, half an inch. She was gone. No footsteps, no motion in the grass, just silence outside, and a slip of paper tucked between the screen and the wood. I didn't want to touch it, but I had to. It was a new list. 8 rules this time. A freshly typed 8th guideline added to the bottom in a different font. Rule 8. If the child in yellow appears at your home address, do not invite her inside. Do not answer her questions. Do not acknowledge what she says about your past. If she references Rule 6, surrender your badge and leave Waller County that night. This is your only warning. The rules had changed, not collectively. No laminated update at the station, no new protocols officially circulated, just mine. She left me a new one. That's how it happens, isn't it? One by one. Personalized edits. Not for the department, for the individual. You don't join Waller County Patrol like you would any other law enforcement district. You inherit an enemy, a spotlight. The thing in the dark develops preferences, and it likes me now. I kept the slip of paper, burned it, buried the ashes in rock salt, taped my original 7 back into place, though I know now they're as brittle as hope. Still, it felt like pretending mattered. Like a fortress of suggestion was better than no wall at all. But here's the part that I keep circling back to. That dress the girl wore. Yellow with white flowers. Cruz mentioned that dress once. Said a deputy named Hollis lost his mind when he got a report of a girl in yellow crying under Norcott Bridge. Only when he bent to comfort her did he notice her hands. Wax fingers fused together. 5 on each side, like claws curled into flowers. They found him 5 days later in a cassava field, 10 miles south. Eyes gone, tongue bitten clean through. His cruiser was never recovered. It wore her dress to him too. Same girl, same smile. When I told Cruz what happened, he didn't speak at first. Just looked out the station window at nothing. Finally he said, "You're locked in now." What does that mean? It means the rules are watching you too. He walked away after that. And I think the worst part was the bruises on his wrist. Fresh nail marks. 5 aligned, exactly like a child's grip. Something old lives here. Something we were never meant to find. And now I think it found us first. Tonight, I woke up gasping. No nightmare I could remember. Just that taste in the back of my throat, metallic and familiar. Like radio static coated in copper. My phone vibrated once. No name, no number, just a message. "Where did you bury her?" Not capital letters typed. They emerged like something punched them through the screen with intention. My sink turned on by itself 5 minutes later. Warm water, steady stream, not a pipe issue. I checked. 20 minutes ago, I walked out to my cruiser, heart pounding like I was sprinting underwater. The laminated sheet wasn't there, not hanging, not on the dash, not on the visor. Instead, there was a sticky note, scrawled in black marker, that bled at the edges like it had been written underwater. "You've been promoted." Below it, 3 new rules. Rule 9. When you see your own patrol unit drive by without anyone inside, do not wave. If it stops, lock your doors. It is not returning you. It's looking for a replacement. Rule 10. You're allowed to forget your name for short periods during patrol. This is normal. Do not retrieve it if you find someone else holding it. Rule 11. If the voice calling from the woods says it forgives you, run. It's not your guilt it wants. It's the part of you that still listens when people say your name with love. I don't know what this all means yet, but I know this. The list isn't finished. It's growing. And I'm not a cop anymore. I'm a caretaker of rules designed to hold back something that no longer believes it should be held. So if you're ever driving through Waller County just after dark, and you see the fog on Monroe, or a girl in yellow waving from a porch step, do not stop. Do not speak. And above all, do not learn the rules. Because once you do, it means one thing. They have already learned you.